Hi, I'm Sue Bergamo, and for today's short take, we have Liat Hayun, CEO and co-founder of Eureka Security. She's here to talk about data posture security management. Let's get started.
Hi, Liat. It's really nice to see you today. So before we start this short take, I'd like to just ask you, do you have any hobbies?
Of course, I don't have much time for them these days. I really like traveling and hiking. It's a combined interest for all of my family. My husband shares this as well, and my daughter does. She doesn't have much choice, but we all really love traveling, hiking, just being in nature. I feel like especially in this stressful work, it's fun to be able to disconnect from time to time and just focus on walking.
I agree. I love to travel, and I used up all my travel time earlier this year, so I got to get back out there. All right. Out of all the CEOs that I know, you're one of it's less than a handful of females. And, I'm always rooting for you. I'm always in your camp, want to see you and your company succeed, as well as everyone else does, by the way. But I want to know what led you to say, I want to become a female CEO of a cybersecurity company.
So I think there are two types of entrepreneurs, two types of founders, two types of CEOs specifically. There are the ones where this was the end goal, like they that's what they dreamt of, that's what they wanted to do since they were early in their careers. I'm actually of the other type, where this is more of a means to an end. For me, being a CEO is a way where I can be a part of and lead a company that has a specific culture, that solves an interesting problem, that focuses on what I think is a great problem to solve for the industry today. So this is kind of how I became a CEO. I started my cybersecurity career back in the IDF. I started out as a software developer, turned to a team leader, and then a group leader. So my career started in the more technical parts. That's where my career journey started. And I later became a product manager back at Palo Alto Networks, and again, kind of grew within the company. And as the company, as you all probably know the Palo Alto Networks story, the company grew significantly, and I had the privilege of growing with it. But when it came to the point in time where I found this exciting problem to solve, and we'll talk about that in a second, my way of addressing this issue was by basically establishing my own company and gathering my own team to start to build that. Of course, I haven't been doing that alone. I've been doing that with my co-founder, Asaf, who has much stronger technical skills than I do. I pride myself on my technical skills, but he's probably the smartest person I know. So it's a great combination to have.
And you've got a great company and a great following. So let's talk about the industry that you're in and the problem that you're trying to solve.
Of course. So maybe before we talk about the problem we're trying to solve, let's take a minute to talk about just two very significant revolutions that the industry experienced over the last 5 years or so. So the first one is the cloud revolution. 5-10 years ago, the cloud has just started. Not a lot of companies, not a lot of organizations have leveraged cloud that significantly, and obviously that has changed very much so. So there's not much more that we need to elaborate on that. And then the other revolution that has happened, and we're now seeing that even more commonly, is the data revolution. 5 years back, data science, machine learning was something that only few organizations have leveraged. Only data scientists were able to do so. You had to have a master's or a doctorate in that specific area. And when machine learning became a commodity, when you have now Python libraries to be able to create machine learning models and capabilities based on top of that, and now especially with the next generation AI tools and the large language models capabilities, we see that even more so. And the combination of these two revolutions, the cloud revolution and data revolution, led to many more organizations storing a lot of sensitive data in cloud infrastructure. Now, that has a ton of benefits. It allows you to scale. It allows you to store sensitive data in much larger quantities. It allows you to leverage different technologies to be able to access and query that data in many, many different ways. But that variety of tools, that flexibility, also creates a very significant challenge for securing that data. And as we all know, mistakes that happen on-prem has maybe limited impact. Mistakes and misconfigurations that happen on the cloud can have very significant impact, leaving an S3 bucket publicly accessible, leaving your ex-employee with credentials to sensitive data, and so on. All of those can have pretty significant effects, pretty significant impact on the organizations that do that. So our goal as a company is to be able to help organizations secure sensitive data and cloud infrastructure, no matter where it is. So it could be public cloud, data warehouses, SaaS applications, and so on. Understanding the data, understanding how it's protected, how it's configured, and making sure it's secure. And doing that by reducing the level of expertise that the security teams need to develop in each and every one of these different technologies to be able to do that accurately.
And that's one of the things that I appreciate about your insight, is that you look at things holistically and then try to solve for the problems that you see in front of you. So, thank you for that. I do, I've seen your product, live, and I think the world of it. But tell us a little bit about how you're going to solve some other issues for, current and future customers.
So the way we see data security, the way we think it should happen, includes mostly, we look at it in 5 steps. So the first part is you'll be amazed by how simple it may sound, but just understanding where data is. A lot of the teams we're working with have a lack of visibility around where data resides within their infrastructure. They know they have these many cloud accounts, these many public cloud subscriptions. They know they're using these SaaS applications, but that's about it. Taking them from that point to actually understanding what data assets they manage, that's part 1. The second part is understanding what that data is, whether if it's business sensitive data, whether if it should be protected by any regulatory requirements. That's the second part around that data. So classifying the data and contextualizing the data is a very significant part of how we can help organizations better manage their data. And then the third part, when it comes to visibility, and it goes back to what I talked about when we talked about the variety of tools that exist for data management, is understanding how data is configured, accessed, and used. And that's maybe where we should double click on for a second, because up until now, most cloud security products, and there are some great cloud security products out there, they mostly focus on the asset level of how something is managed. When it comes to data, asset level is not enough. You can have an S3 bucket with hundreds of folders, thousands of files in them, and they can be differently managed. You can have an RDS instance with dozens of databases on it and hundreds of tables in each database. And again, they could be differently managed. So understanding the way that the data asset is managed is a key piece of that. And then secondly, as opposed to cloud assets, as opposed to the infrastructure, the way that data is being used is also quite significant in our ability to understand whether or not it's protected. So where is it being queried from? Who is it being queried by? Is there any anomalous activity around how it's being queried? Is there anything suspicious or anything new about the way it's being queried? So those areas of focus are unique when it comes to data assets. Now, we provide these, we do these 3 steps to provide visibility into how data is managed, where it is, what it is, and how is it configured, accessed, and used. But in addition to providing visibility, it can't end there. We all know that, maybe 3-5 years ago, there were a lot of visibility-focused capabilities, but that has caused sort of a flood to security teams that are now, no one has the time to just query the new tool they just got. So that has to be complemented with a very strong policy engine that on one hand takes all that understanding of the data, and then on the other hand takes data-centric, data-level configurations, policies, requirements, guardrails, and translates those guardrails into the technology-specific configurations and controls, and then does that smart matching. So if you want your sensitive data to be encrypted at rest, that is a very basic requirement. Translating that into what it means to have something encrypted at rest in a Salesforce ticket versus a self-hosted database in Azure versus a managed data store in AWS, those are very different things. So translating those data-centric policies into what we actually see in the organization, providing valuable insights and findings around those things. And then, of course, lastly, if you find an issue, you want to be able to solve it and to fix it. So helping you take it all the way from that point to the resolution of that issue. And this is kind of how we see data security needs to happen.
I love the end-to-end life cycle that you have around data. You haven't mentioned compliance, and so I have to ask the question, are you also solving for things like GDPR or other types of audits or certification programs?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say we're completely solving for this, and maybe that's an important note to add. Usually compliance is not just about data. There is a lot of data aspects to it, and we can definitely help to address those. But just as an example, we are SOC 2 certified. That has a lot of requirements around our HR processes and how do we make sure that the people we bring in would not compromise the product in any way. It has even policies around how we lock the doors to our office. So we're not a compliance tool in terms of providing that entire process. Again, there are great tools to do that. But when it comes to the checkboxes you need to have within your compliance process around data, especially data encryption, data retention, data access, we can definitely help with those parts as well. And a lot of what we do is to try to bring those teams together. It's the security team, it's the compliance team, it's the DevOps team, sometimes legal teams and privacy teams, to all have the same holistic view of their data assets in their environment without having to use different tools and different processes.
Nice. But you're also integrating with a lot of the other cyber tools that are out there, correct?
In integration, you can't have a tool without having a variety of integrations, right? I think one of the things that I see as a difference there are a lot of great cybersecurity founders and entrepreneurs that come out directly from the IDF. And some of them are amazing, but the one difference that I see is that it sometimes takes a while for a team like that to realize that the tool you develop, the product you provide, it does not live in a vacuum. Like it's not a standalone tool. Every new product in the security stack has to fall like somewhere within that variety and stack of tools that an organization has to fit into the workflow that the security team has. So whether if it's integrating with anything starting from how they log into the product and do they leverage their own identity provider, all the way through how do you make sure the identifications and findings you create find themselves in the right ticketing systems and the right identification systems and the right alerting systems and automation tools and so on. So we definitely integrate with a variety of tools across almost every aspect of the product that I talked about.
And do you see that as being your differentiator between the other folks that are in this marketplace?
So I definitely see integration as something that needs to happen correctly for a tool, for a way for the team to be able to consume the product. But I don't think that's why CISOs and their security teams are buying the product. You buy the product to solve a problem you have. That's the core value proposition. Our ability to have identity-centric data security across all their environments, that's why that's why they want the product. Once they want the product, they have to make sure it's going to fit within their entire stack. You can see a great furniture, you want to have it, but if it doesn't fit within your living room, you're not going to buy it. So our core value proposition is more focused around solving that need and addressing that pain. And then we want to make sure it will also, have the right measurements to fit within their entire stack of tools.
I like the analogy. All right. So last question. If you want to leave the audience with a few takeaways about your company and your product, what would you say to them?
Everyone listening to this that stores sensitive data anywhere in cloud infrastructure to ask themselves the same questions that we asked here. Do you know where your data is? Do you know what is that data? Do you know how it's managed today? And if not, what are the risks? What's the exposure you have? We'll obviously be very happy to help with that, but there are other mechanisms to start with at least. Tools like ours might not be the best fit for smaller organizations. So there are some manual methods and manual mechanisms that can help with that. But if you don't have a good solution for that, or if the manual processes just don't make sense and don't scale correctly, that's where we're here to help with.
Excellent. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you and learn more, what would you say?
So the best way to get a hold of us is our website, eureka.security, or our LinkedIn page, which has the same name, Eureka Security. We are here to help you get to that Eureka moment and be able to understand your data better.
All right, Liat, thank you very much for your time today. This was terrific, and I know we'll be talking soon. Take care.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me.